Welcome back to the 2019-2020 school year. For those of you just joining the West Des Moines Community School District, we're glad you're here. Our theme this year is It Starts With Us. Our learning session today is going to explore our journey around basic math fact fluency, where we started last year and where we're headed this year. These are our learning goals for this session. Our journey began last year in the fall of 2018 with our math workshop options. Two of the workshops included developing and assessing basic fact fluency. These featured author Gina Kling, who was one of the authors for the Everyday Math program. In Gina's work, procedural fluency was defined as you see on the screen, as skill in carrying out procedures flexibly, accurately, efficiently, and appropriately. With shared learning around this definition, we explored what that means for the experience our students have in mathematics. We also carried that procedural fluency definition forward in thinking about how this representation of procedural fluency is a little bit like a three-legged stool. What we want our students to be able to do is to compute accurately, efficiently, and flexibly. All three of those support that procedural fluency. Please note that answering questions quickly, the speed component, is a very tiny part of procedural fluency overall. While keeping that same definition of procedural fluency, we continue to explore these ideas in the winter and spring math PLC Pluses with our grade level teams. Some of the learning that we had in those sessions included evidence of student learning. We had a rotation where we considered evidence of student learning through the lens of basic facts assessments. In thinking about the basic facts assessments that had traditionally been used in our district and considered our shared definition of procedural fluency, we wondered and questioned what aspects of fluency are being measured with that assessment. We also considered what assessments might more accurately work to paint a picture of what our students can do in fluency around basic math facts. Many options were also presented for alternate assessments of basic fact fluency, with the understanding that we're going for a deeper definition of fluency. We're going to briefly look at those items next. One of the options that was presented at that time was the dual layered basic facts page. In this situation, the student is given a basic math facts page with two writing utensils. The student completes the facts with one writing utensil that they know automatically, moving around, skipping through, and getting the ones very quickly that they already know. They are not visibly timed in this assessment. The teacher can record time from their perspective. After a given amount of time, the student is instructed to pick up the second writing utensil and work some more on the basic facts. Again, time is not a constraint, but we don't want them to go on forever. What it does is it provides richer data about facts that students do know automatically and some that they may be able to solve using other strategies. Another option that was presented was the individual student or small group interview. In these particular interviews, the facts are broken up into foundational facts, derived facts, and challenge facts. The interviews also combine addition and subtraction and multiplication and division facts. In those regards, we're looking at those operations as components of each other instead of discrete operations. These interviews could be done with students individually or in a small group setting like in a math workshop block. Layering in another component to that same type of interview, this interview or small group component takes the same basic fact blocks, but then has an additional layer of strategy that the student is using. The students are asked to answer the questions quickly as they can, given a time frame that's recorded by the teacher, much like a running record. And then the students are asked to respond to two facts, one from each operation in that set. Explaining what strategy they use to solve it gives us more information about what they can do as far as the math goes, but also how they're doing the math. There was also a two-prompt interview protocol that was presented at that session, such as the one seen here. In this type of interview, the student is asked a question, say for instance, what is 3 plus 2 or 4 times 8? After the student responds, we ask, how did you figure it out? This gives us the strategy that they're using to answer that question. Teachers can then record a code that most closely matches the strategy that the student tells you on the recording form. Some other options that were presented were observation forms, many of these like pieces that exist in our everyday math program. These observational forms have a variety of options for different grade levels because we're assessing different pieces of fluency and different facts in different grades. These tools can be used as observations as students work in their math journal, work on math games, or math boxes, or other times that students are using basic computations. We don't expect that a teacher would observe every student every day, but these observation tools could be used with, say, 3 students a day, 5 students another day. For instance, when you're walking around watching the kids play math games. Some other options are mastery records, which may be more applicable for learners who have had multiple exposures in these situations to addition facts and to multiplication facts. In these, we're checking in to see if they have actually mastered these facts. A student is presented with a fact, say 9 plus 3. The student is given time to respond and the teacher records the response. Automaticity and accuracy codes are written in on the teacher recording form. This is really just a spot check to make sure that they've moved forward and have mastered the skills. I have presented many options here. The dual layered basic facts page, individual interviews, a smaller group interview, although the forms can be the same and can just be used in different situations, surveys of facts with strategy explanations, observational forms that can be used formally or informally, and mastery records. The idea here is that there are many different options for you and your PLC to consider. There may even be a combination of tools that your team might like to use. For instance, observational forms might tell you who is fluent in certain facts, and then you use a survey of facts with a student that you might observe as being challenged by basic math facts. My hope is that your team would come together to find some options that fit for your student needs, for the fluency expectations at your grade level, and that fit your teaching style. From there, consider which tools you'd like to use and print accordingly. All items will be linked in this slide deck attached to the email containing this video. I would also encourage the timing component on these assessments to be from the teacher perspective only, recorded by watch, phone, etc. In this way, we might de-emphasize speed as a part of the assessment from the student's perspective. In fact, research shows that the use of timed tests promotes a lot of math anxiety for students and can decrease working memory by over 20%. When we think about the idea that it starts with us, here's where we can prevent math anxiety for our students. If we offer options where they're not being timed and not being pressured into performing under time constraints for a correct answer, we may be able to avoid math anxiety that our students might experience in school. This may bring you to wonder, what about our previous guidance document? The guidance for the MTSS process for basic fact fluency. If you take a look at this document that lives in the drive, you may notice that there are some things that are no longer valid on this document. Some things are still true, including if your grade level has a PPR statement on fluency, it will still be there. The descriptors on the PPR for math have not changed because standards have not changed. However, the tool or tools that your team uses to assess fluency is flexible. Again, we'd like you to refer back to the options previously listed and pick one or more tools that fit your team. In the guidance document that you see on the screen, a very specific window was given for when those assessments should be administered. We'd like your team to more flexibly think about this time window for assessment. For instance, if you're giving a survey or an interview, that may take longer over time to complete. So the assessment window needs to be more flexible. What we would hope to see is that it would correspond to your reporting window for your PPRs and for student and teacher conferences. While this does open up the assessment window, classroom teachers, please note, you will be asked to bring 3 student data collections to our Math PLC Plus meetings that begin the second week of September. More details will come about that soon. In thinking through this idea about the flexible assessment window, please also consider giving students time at the beginning of the school year to get back into the school routines before starting these assessments. Note, updates to this guidance document will also include resources for teaching interventions around basic math facts. When we think about and analyze student strategy, not emphasizing speed, we can also promote a growth mindset around mathematics with our students. It starts with us for them to really understand what is important about math, thinking deeply, persevering in problem solving, and actively engaging in the mathematical process. So it starts with us to promote that growth mindset. Starting off the year with that is a great idea. Linked here are some options for resources that you can use with your students around sharing growth mindset. Next, you'll find a slide that has links to all the documents, although again, they're linked in the other slides in this particular slide deck as well. If you and your team are interested in knowing more, this links to a few articles that might dive deeper into the ideas around basic fluency. As always, we thank you for all that you do. We thank you for your work with our students, with our families, and with each other. If you have any questions, please reach out. My email address is on the screen. Also, if you have feedback, I'd appreciate hearing that too. We want you to always think about how can we best meet the needs of our students around mathematics. So thank you and have a wonderful start to your school year.